You know that moment when someone says something to you, and it's so unexpected, so personal, that you can't stop thinking about it hours later? That's the kind of effect the right compliment can have on a man. And today, I'm going to show you the 10 compliments so powerful, so deliciously off limits, that they'll leave him hooked on you without even knowing why. When it comes to making a man's attention lock on you, the compliments that have the most power are the ones he doesn't see coming. The power of the unexpected works, because our brains are wired to notice what is different. If he's heard "you're hot" or "you're so strong" 100 times before, those phrases get filed into the mental folder of things I've heard before. They might be pleasant, but they're forgettable. What jolts him in the best way is when you shine a light on something so specific, so oddly personal, that it catches him completely off guard. It might be the way his eyes change when he's talking about something he loves, the rhythm he has when he walks, or how he pauses before answering a question as if he's really thinking it through. Those are not standard compliments, and because they are so tailored, they feel more genuine. Imagine telling him, "I like how you tilt your head when you're figuring something out." He's not expecting that. It's not a compliment he could have predicted. It makes him think, "She's really paying attention to me. She notices things no one else does." That sense of being truly seen is intoxicating. This is why the unexpected compliment is so magnetic. It's not just about flattery, it's about recognition. And recognition creates an emotional high far stronger than a simple nod to physical attractiveness. The unexpected works on another level too. It bypasses his self-defense mechanisms. Some men, especially confident ones, can brush off common compliments because they're used to them or because they don't want to seem vain. But when you point out something unique, you force him to actually process it. His brain can't immediately slot it into a category, so he lingers on it. That lingering means the compliment stays with him long after the conversation is over. It's also a subtle way of flipping the power dynamic. Generic praise can feel like you're just giving something away, but when your compliment is so precise that it almost sounds like a secret you weren't supposed to share, it makes him feel like he's earned your admiration. He'll replay it in his head, wondering if you've noticed even more about him that you haven't revealed yet. That curiosity draws him in. The truth is, unexpected compliments are not about inventing something random. They are about watching closely, paying attention to the micro details of how he moves, speaks, or reacts, and then choosing to voice something that no one else has bothered to mention. It's that mix of surprise, intimacy, and authenticity that makes these compliments the kind that keep him hooked. When most people think about complimenting a man, their first instinct is to go for something physical, his looks, his body, or his style. While those compliments can be nice, they often stay on the surface. What makes a deeper and more lasting impression is when you acknowledge his mind. Complimenting his intelligence, insight, or the way he thinks taps into a part of his ego that is often undernourished. Many men, even those who seem confident, quietly wish to be admired for more than their appearance or physical capabilities. They want to feel respected for their ideas, their problem-solving skills, and their unique way of seeing the world. When you say something like, "I love the way you explain that," or "That's such an interesting perspective, I never would have thought of it that way," you are not just flattering him, you are validating his mental worth. This works because it goes beyond admiration of what he is and reaches into admiration of who he is. Looks fade and muscles can change, but feeling intelligent, capable, and insightful is something that stays with a man for life. When you feed that part of him, you are touching a place most people never bother to reach. It also creates a subtle emotional bond. People tend to gravitate toward those who make them feel smart and valued. If you make a man feel that his thoughts matter, he will associate you with that sense of pride. The next time he has something exciting or complex to share, you become the person he wants to tell first because you listen differently. You appreciate the depth behind his words. That's rare, and rarity makes you unforgettable. Complimenting a man's mind also signals that you see him as more than just a source of attraction. You are showing that you respect him and that your interest isn't purely superficial. This can be especially powerful with men who are used to getting attention for their appearance, but rarely for their intellect. It makes them feel that your attraction is rooted in something much deeper than the obvious. The beauty of this kind of compliment is in its authenticity and specificity. Instead of saying, "You're smart," which can feel generic, you might say, "The way you connect ideas is so unique," or "You always have such a creative approach to solving things." That specificity makes the praise believable and personal. It tells him you are paying attention not just to what he says, but to how he thinks. And when a man feels that his inner world is noticed and valued, it leaves a mark far stronger than any comment about his jawline or his biceps ever could. Most compliments focus on the finished product, the end result that everyone can see, but there is something far more meaningful about noticing the effort a man puts in rather than just the outcome. When you acknowledge the work, dedication, or thought he invests into something, you are validating not just what he has done, but who he is when no one is watching. Effort-based compliments have a deeper emotional impact because they show that you are paying attention to the process, not only the result. Telling a man, "I love how much time you put into making sure this was perfect," or "I noticed how you kept going even when it got tricky," strikes a different chord than simply saying, "Good job." It makes him feel seen for the discipline, persistence, or care he brings to what he does. Many people take effort for granted, focusing on the visible achievement, but when you shine a light on the behind-the-scenes work, it creates a sense of intimacy. You are telling him, "I see what others might miss." That message builds connection because it touches a part of him that often goes unappreciated. This kind of compliment also fuels pride in his own character. Outcomes can sometimes be influenced by luck, timing, or circumstances, but effort is personal. It reflects his determination, his standards, and his values. When you acknowledge it, you are essentially affirming those core qualities. A man who hears you say, "I admire how much thought you put into that decision," will feel that you respect not just his capability, but his integrity. Another reason this type of compliment is powerful is that it encourages him to keep showing up in that way. People are more likely to repeat behaviors that get noticed and appreciated. If he feels that you value the way he tries, pushes forward, or gives his all, he will be more inclined to continue doing it, not for recognition from the world, but because your recognition means something to him. That personal motivation deepens the bond between you. Effort-based compliments are also harder to fake, which is why they carry more weight. To notice someone's effort, you have to actually observe them, pay attention to how they approach challenges, and care enough to comment on it. That sincerity makes your words more believable and more valuable. When you let him know you respect the way he handles the journey, not just the destination, you create a space where he feels both admired and understood, and that is a feeling he will remember every time he looks at you. There is a special kind of magic in a compliment that feels like it slipped out by accident, as if you almost weren't supposed to say it. These are the kinds of remarks that carry a whisper of intimacy, the subtle suggestion that you have noticed something about him that you don't share with everyone else. When a compliment comes across as private, unplanned, or a little bit secretive, it creates a stronger emotional reaction because it feels exclusive. It is not just praise, it's a peek into how you truly see him when you are not trying to impress or follow social rules. Saying something like, "I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I love how your voice changes when you're being playful," instantly makes him feel special because it sounds unfiltered and personal. It is different from a rehearsed or generic comment, and it carries a sense of vulnerability. You are letting him in on something that feels like a confession, and people instinctively value what feels like a secret. That kind of delivery triggers curiosity. He will wonder what else you have noticed, what other private thoughts you keep to yourself, and that curiosity draws him closer. The subtlety here is important. You are not overloading the moment with heavy declarations, but rather planting a thought that lingers, a slightly mischievous tone, a pause before you say it, or a look that matches your words can amplify the effect. It's not just what you say, it's how you make him feel when you say it, as though he is in on something no one else gets to experience. That emotional exclusivity is intoxicating because it builds a small world that exists just between you and him. This style of compliment also sidesteps the problem of sounding overly formal or forced. Many men have learned to brush off straightforward praise, especially if they hear it often, but a compliment that feels spontaneous doesn't activate that same defense. Instead, it catches him off guard in a warm way, leaving him open to receiving it fully. It feels real, and real is rare. When you master the art of hinting at admiration rather than stating it too directly, you keep him leaning in. He becomes more aware of how he acts around you, hoping to inspire more of those almost accidental admissions. Over time, these subtle moments stack up, creating a powerful sense of connection rooted in shared private understanding, and that is the kind of bond that makes your presence feel unforgettable. When you shift a compliment from being about him in isolation to being about how he makes you feel, you change its impact entirely. Men often hear praise for what they do, what they look like, or what they achieve, but hearing that their presence or actions directly affect your emotions hits on a much deeper level. It is no longer just about recognition, it becomes about influence. You are telling him, in a subtle way, that he has the power to create a certain emotional state in you, and that power is intoxicating. Saying something like, "You make me feel so safe when I'm with you," or "You always make things feel more exciting," goes beyond flattery. It tells him that his role in your life is unique and that your experience changes for the better because of him. This type of compliment also has a built-in sense of intimacy because it requires you to reveal something personal about your emotional world. It is not just about what you observe, but about what you experience inside. That openness makes the compliment feel genuine and memorable. This approach works especially well because it ties your appreciation directly to the connection between you. A generic "you're funny" can be nice, but "you always make me laugh when I need it most" is powerful because it places him at the center of a shared moment. It becomes less about a general trait he might share with others and more about the specific way that trait affects you. That personalization deepens the meaning and makes him feel irreplaceable. It also taps into a deep human desire to be significant in someone's life. Men, just like anyone else, want to feel that they matter, that their presence makes a difference. When you let him know that he has the ability to make you feel safe, happy, inspired, or at ease, you are confirming that he is not just part of your world, but a positive force within it. That sense of contribution can strengthen his emotional investment in you. The beauty of this kind of compliment is that it doesn't require grand gestures or elaborate setups. It works best when it feels organic, even in small moments. You could be walking down the street, sitting in a cafe, or talking on the phone, and simply say, "I love how relaxed I feel when we talk." It is sincere, it is personal, and it is hard to forget. Over time, these acknowledgements of how he makes you feel can create a bond so strong that he naturally wants to keep evoking those emotions in you. There is something incredibly powerful about noticing and appreciating a man's quirks, those little traits and habits that make him different from anyone else. Most compliments focus on qualities that are easy to spot: strength, looks, skills. But when you zero in on something uniquely his, you show that you are truly paying attention. Quirks can be anything from the way he laughs, the phrases he uses, the way he raises an eyebrow when he's skeptical, or how he always remembers tiny details you've mentioned. These things may seem small, but they carry immense emotional weight because they are part of his authentic self, not something he tries to put on display. When you say something like, "I love how you get that little grin" right before you say something sarcastic, you're doing more than flattering him. You're telling him that you've been watching closely enough to notice the subtle cues that most people overlook. This kind of compliment feels deeply personal because it's tied to his individuality. It's not something you could say to just anyone. It belongs only to him. That sense of uniqueness makes the words sink in and stay with him. Complimenting quirks also makes him feel accepted for exactly who he is. Sometimes the things that make a person stand out are the same things they might have been teased for in the past. When you celebrate those traits, instead of ignoring them or treating them as oddities, you're giving him permission to embrace them. You're turning what might have once been a source of self-consciousness into a source of pride, and that transformation is powerful. It also creates a sense of intimacy because quirks are usually revealed in moments when someone feels comfortable being themselves. If you're noticing them, it means he has let his guard down around you, and your acknowledgement of them reinforces that safety. It tells him, I like the real you, not just the polished version you show to the world. That kind of message builds trust and emotional connection. Another reason this type of compliment works so well is that it's hard to fake. You can only notice quirks if you're genuinely paying attention over time. That effort communicates value in itself. He knows you've invested the focus to see him on a deeper level. And because quirks are so personal, when you call them out in a positive way, it's almost impossible for him not to smile. It becomes a private thread in your connection, a reminder that you see him in a way no one else does. And that feeling is unforgettable. At the heart of all these forbidden compliments is a simple truth. What makes someone unforgettable is not flattery for the obvious, but appreciation for the unique, the personal, and the deeply human. Men don't just crave to be admired for their looks or achievements. They long to feel truly seen, valued, and understood. When you notice the details others overlook, when you praise not just the result but the effort, when you speak to how he makes you feel or highlight the quirks that make him one of a kind, you create a connection that cuts through the noise. These compliments work because they are rooted in authenticity, specificity, and intimacy. They aren't just words, they're moments of recognition that linger in his mind and heart. And when you give a man that kind of recognition, you're not just making him smile, you're making him remember you.